Okay, so tonight I thought we'll do a little bit of satsang on the Sadhana Ke Sutra, or the concepts, the principles and ideas on the basic steps for yoga sadhana, or our evolutionary journey of health and well-being. You can also use these steps actually to achieving or to attaining the full potential of who we are in sense of our physical body, our mind, our conscious body, then our kundalini, our energy, our chakra, and gradually attaining that highest form of self-realization, or that atma jnana. So in classical sort of texts like Vijnana Tantra, then Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiv Samhita, they actually put a couple of these basic, these beautiful steps in a step-by-step manner also in Hatha Yoga Pradipika on progressive, in a progressive manner, to work on our own self-evolution. Now in this sadhana, in this process, I guess the first step always has to be creating the space, the sthana or the asana itself. Now, when we talk about creating the space in sadhana, it can be actually creating a physical space or physical environment, like we all have created this this collective space or the environment to sit down and have a bit of satsang discussion on some of these ideas or practices. Now we have created it virtually, so our space now, the space or the opportunity we have created, it includes the space where I am sitting with Surya and Deepika, then the space where you all are in your own spaces. Then we got our modern technology, this communication sort of tools we all are using. So the first step in our evolutionary sadhana, creating the space, and then in that space also creating the intention itself, creating or setting up the mindset, setting up a thought process, or what we call the sankalpa, the willpower or the determination that we are here to follow or to adhere to a certain practice or a certain sort of path that we're going to follow for a long term. So I guess in that way, you're creating the space can also include that you have taken a practice for your sadhana, and you're going to follow that sadhana, you're going to follow that practice for a length of time or a length of period. Not like, I do one thing, I start with thinking, I'm going to do sit down and follow a good half an hour Hatha Yoga sadhana, or maybe a pranayama sadhana or meditation. And then we start with pranayama, and then we gradually say like, oh no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to do meditation, and then we just go into contemplation, or we go into Hatha Yoga, or we just decided let's just have a cup of tea instead. See, that's what Surya thinks. So in creating the space and intention is actually not just the physical space, but also the mental and emotional space we create. We create that intention, we create that energy, we create that time, we create that thought. So that becomes our first step into our sadhana. And this is, in a classical Gitananda tradition, one of the reasons, if you have always noticed, even the Hatha Yoga practice, we begin with a couple of minutes of still, quiet sitting. The reason in that is actually creating the intention that I'm here, I'm in this body, I'm with my own breath, and then in this body, in this breath, I'm going to use the body and breath as a tool, as an instrument to go through some maybe gentle or therapeutic or dynamic or static yoga practices or postures to enhance my health and well-being, or enhance the energetic flow, or maybe to awaken the energies, the kundalini, depending on which sort of aspect of Hatha Yoga or our sadhana we taken. So having that intention, creating that will, and creating the practice, that becomes our first step, or the first step forward into our own individual sadhana. Once you have created that space, then the second step always comes with our moral and ethical values, or what we call the virtuous sort of living or lifestyle. Because I guess, when you're talking about the prana, when you talk about the kundalini, when you talk about this awakening of the energy, when you talk about awakening of this power, potential power that we have, just to remember, really more and more I understand and contemplate on these practices and energy, these energies are actually not negative or positive in context to our morals or our ethical behavior. Energy does not really have the positive or negative, does not have the constructive or destructive. It is how we channeling it or how we using it. So that this is, if you look in most spiritual contexts or practices, either we're looking at Yoga Sutras, we're looking at Bible, we're looking at Quran, we're looking at so many Hindu scriptures I have known, or Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiv Samhita, they always begin the sadhana after creating the intention, creating that choosing the path, then they always come on to the moral and ethical observances. So having some of these moral or ethical observations or the practices, so we are creating a strong foundation of our character or our personality or willpower or the mind, that consciousness that actually going to use that power when that power is going to gradually grow. It's sort of, something I'm kind of like experiencing last couple of days. Think of your consciousness, if you think of our Atman or the divine cosmic consciousness as the light. Now, now the light itself, it's pure, it's primordial, it's all pervading. But when this light filters through different filters or the different mirrors, so maybe you got the filter of red color, you got the filter of blue color, green color, or all these different prisms. So the actual essence, the radiance of the light depends on which mode or which sort of transference or which sort of mirror it is filtering through. So if you're filtering the light through the red, then you will see the red color. If you're filtering through these beautiful crystals and diamonds, then the energy has its own beautiful patterns. So if you think of our cosmic consciousness, the Atman or the divine, that all pervading Atma, the conscious soul we talk about, and this soul actually filters through each and every one of our individual nervous system, our intellect, our buddhi, and the mindset we have. And that's what becomes our own individual awareness or the individual material consciousness. So to define that the energy that has the right sort of filters to grow or to evolve upward and onward, we take the next step or second step in sadhana, our yamas and niyamas, as we use the phrase into our Yoga Sutras, the moral and ethical observations or the practices. Now, depending on how far you want to go, it can be as simple as, if you take just one of them, that can be actually all including. Maybe you just take the practice of ahimsa, non-violence. I'm not going to cause any harm in my thoughts, in my actions, in my speech, in my choices, in my karma. And in that way, that all other values, the virtues will gradually come together. Or as Patanjali puts, 5 yamas and 5 niyamas together, which are like the non-violence, satya, the truth or the honesty, non-stealing, non-greed, and the discipline or channeling of our sensual or the life, that creative force we all have. And then maintaining the purity, the inner sense of contentment, the self-satisfaction or gratification that goes through our self-study or swadhyaya or introspection. Then we have the non-greed, we have the Iswar Prasadhanam or surrendering or letting go everything, offering everything to the divine or to the higher, the principal primordial force or the divine, that cosmic force. So that becomes our second step in our sadhana, in our this path of evolving or moving upward and onward towards our evolution, our health and well-being. Then we come to the third step where we bring our Hatha Yoga practices in, as here we are gradually moving towards mastering or growing or developing that inner sense of ease, peace, and the energies can flow freely, where we need to feel more sense of that inner comfort from within ourselves. So to dissolve those conflicts. Now the conflicts are caused with the sense, with the idea of duality. That's based on pain, pleasure, good, bad, liking, disliking. And all that is causing so many strain in our body, the hormonal strain, then we got the physical strain, we got all sorts of toxicity, and all that actually also affecting or influencing our the ways we think, we contemplate, or where we kind of, all the whirlpools or perception experience, it's all depending or having the filter there. As I said, the light filtering through your consciousness, filtering through your physical, your mental, and your emotional being, your intellectual being, who you are. So in that way, our third sutra, the third step comes to working on our physical body to enhance our health, well-being, to enhance that sense of ease or comfort from within our body and our energy channels. Here we also use the physical, the Hatha Yoga practices for enhancing our energy, the subtle or the vital energy and the vital energy forces. And in obviously, I'm sure you all are aware, in Hatha Yoga, in our Gitananda tradition, in our Sanatana Yoga, we have some quite beautiful steps, as we always begin with the jatis. So the jatis are just, can be as simple as just shaking our hands or wiggling your toes, circling them, rotating, moving, or creating all these soft and subtle movements, or the kiryas, sort of like really sort of working through from your toes to your head or head to toes through different joints, which helps to remove or break through all those old accumulated injuries, strain and toxins and crystals due to our food and lifestyle. So through the jatis and through the jatis you can break them or you can loosen them up, and hopefully if you drink enough water and taking enough breath in and out through and eating healthy food, the jatis can really become the process of detoxification or cleansing or refining of our body, mind, and our pranic sort of junctions or the joints. Then we have our in Hatha Yoga into the sadhana, where we're using our body as instrument. The second part in that aspect, we have our kiryas, where you flow between the posture to posture or just moving. Kriya can be as simple as breathing in, we just raise our arms up, and we breathe out, we take our arms down. Kiryas can be moving from four-footed into the Vyagra Pranayama or the Siri Kriya, or just like our Surya Namaskars are also really beautiful, sort of take a typical example of Kriya in Hatha Yoga. Now in Kriya you are actually using your breath and your body, your awareness to flow through those parts of the practice together. So once you have done the Kriya Yoga, then we actually come to, because through Kriya Yoga you have created the awareness, you have developed what we call the new neuroplasticity or new brain and body awareness. You being able to, in a more disciplined way, flow the energy wherever you want in your body, in your joints and muscles, as your mind and your energy flow together with all these movements, all these kiryas of your body. So in that way, then you have a little bit more discipline, a little bit more control or mastery of the energy channels. Then we come to what we have, the asana, which is sort of a seat or a static being, static pose or poise of your body itself, where you hold your body in one particular posture that can be chosen. Some postures are really dynamic, quite physical. Other postures you can be just sit comfortably in cross-legged, you can be in half lotus, on your feet, or maybe you stand straight in Samistati or Vrksasana, the tree pose. So we take a seat, and in that seat we create or perform maybe one or two mudras or a certain series of mudras. Like in Vrksasana we do Namaskar mudra, we do Namaskar to our Visuddha, we do Namaskar to our Anya, we do Namaskar to our Kailas, our crown, we do Namaskar to the divine. Also we do the Agra mudra, greeting to each other, or we do the Hasta Prasara mudra, when you allowing the energy to open and allowing the divine to really manifest through the mudras. So asana and mudra really come together, as the asana is performing your body, and through the mudra you're creating a gesture, you're creating expression of your body and your mind with a certain intention. So allowing the energy to flow inward. Now, So in that way, our Hatha Yoga or physical practice becomes the third limb or the third step into our sadhana of our yogic evolution. Now, once you have mastered or you have gained some awareness, some control, some ease and comfort in our body, then we move into the fourth step into our sadhana. Now, fourth step, again, another quite a well-known sadhana or practice step. We have the pranayama. Now, in pranayama, again, there are many practices. Like in classical texts, there are 8 or 9 pranayamas. Then in Gitananda tradition, we have around 128 pranayamas that we follow or that we learn and practice. And quite a few of you are quite familiar with so many of them. So once we have tuned into our body, our breath and awareness, then we should have the natural ability to grow or to evolve and tune into our cosmic or the pranic energy field. Now in pranayama, we are using breath as a tool to tap ourselves, to tune ourselves into this pranic, the universal vibration. So all this up to the first few steps of our Sadhana Ke Sutra, these limbs or the steps, we are using our body, our mind and behavior as a pattern to connect with ourselves. And from here we are starting to use the practices which allows us to go beyond our physical, mental, intellectual and emotional being or simply our material existence that we can experience or see through our senses, our mind and our intellect. So here the pranayama, we using the breath as a tool to tune ourselves, to have access, to have experience of this pranic energy field. Because the minute you connect yourself to the pranic field, you start to experience the divine, you start to experience the whole universe, the cosmos. It's sort of, like some of you say, oh, I like to touch the sun, or I like to go and touch the moon. But actually, it's just if we can have the perspective to see that every time you're touching the sunlight, you also touching the sun. Every time you're touching the moonlight, you are touching the moon. So the relation between the sun and moon, it can be actually experienced or felt the minute we let go this material distance between the two. So through the pranic field, you have to let go of this boundary that has the limitation of our sense organs. So when we start to experience things beyond the sense organs, we start to experience the universal or the cosmic prana, the cosmic energy, the cosmic vital force. So here we use the pranayama, the breath, as a tool and as a sadhana practice to refine ourselves. So really the pranayama is the practice that helps to refine our physical body, it refines our mind, it refines our intellect. It really helps, sort of like some texts or some practices explain pranayama as also the karmic burning process. You can even burn the samskaras, you can burn the old accumulated karma, you can burn all sorts of old traumas and mental and emotional accumulated memories that you might be carrying on. And those memories, obviously, they are causing or influencing our health, well-being, or our sense of existence in itself. So your pranayama sadhana becomes your fourth limb, and in pranayama sadhana, this practices can be really as simple as our Savitri rhythm pranayama, where we begin our pranayama with the 6-3-6-3 breathing. Inhale in 6 counts, hold for 3, exhale in 6 counts, and then hold out for 3 counts. Or you can go all the way up towards 8-4-8-4, maybe you do 10-5-10-5, If you can, as a sadhaka, try to build up to 16-8 sadhana, or maybe for the yogis, the Siddha rhythm is 64-32, 64-32. So you breathe in 64 counts, hold for 32, breathe out for 64, and hold out for 32 counts. Or maybe there are, so many other pranayamas are there, like our Surya or Chandra Nadi pranayama. We have the Nadi Suddhi pranayama. Another really beautiful practice that we can do as and when we can. We have even a couple of minutes, our Sukha pranayama, where we again have a really simple rhythm of 6, 6, 8, 8, or 10, 10, and it goes upward as far as you can go. Where you're breathing in and out in equal rhythm or the equal pattern. Now, once you have come to the fourth limb, where you are using the pranayama as the process of refinement, process of cleansing, purification, where you create or you gradually gain or achieve that ability to experience beyond your sense organs. Then I guess we are ready to move into the fifth step or the fifth limb into the regular sadhana or our regular practice. Now in fifth sutra or fifth sadhana, as earlier I was sort of trying to explain that how our nervous system, our brain and the mental and emotional activities we going, they becomes like the filter of the light. Now here the light is the symbol for our conscious atman or the consciousness, the soul itself. Now the way our nervous system, our mental activities or whirlpool chitvrtis are going on, that has a huge influence on the radiance or on the outcome of your consciousness, your awareness itself. Now, if you experience or contemplate on when we are tired, when our nervous system is exhausted or burned down, our thoughts naturally tend to be very, very agitated, disturbed, distracted, and that will also have influence or impact on our emotions, our physical health, physical well-being. So to actually now we work on this nervous system, this state of our intellectual being, our whole spine, our brain, each and every nerve. Now to experience the pure or potential thoughts, the pure potential of us or the energy or this cosmic bliss, we want to relax this nervous system. We want to relax our body. We want to relax our muscles. So in that way, then the fifth step of your yoga sadhana comes as the yoga nidra or the jnana yoga practices, all the relaxation techniques we follow. Now here the jnana yoga practices or your relaxation, your yoga nidra practices, there are many again, in all different scriptures. It can be auto-suggestion where you just simply suggesting or guiding yourself into a deep relaxation, what we call the self-hypnosis. Or it can be our jnana yoga practices, relaxation like loma viloma practice or the nadi suddhi or there are many practices, or the marmistana. You just focus in your mind to your toes, then your feet, then your ankle joints. You're going up all the way to top of your head. Or maybe you might just want to focus your mind to your breath. So all those practices that leading your body, your mind, especially your nervous system, to go into a deep relaxation. And remember, as you are relaxing, you are letting go all these thoughts, all these whirlpools, the chituratis, and in that state you naturally uncovering all those layers that is filtering or influencing the sign of your soul or your consciousness, your atman itself. So to remove these layers, to remove the lethargic, the negative, that heavy thinking and all that tiredness, that exhaustion, we're using the fifth limb as the yoga nidra or a good yogic relaxation. Now, once you have achieved or once you have attained that good yogic deep relaxation, then we come to what we call, it's time to learn the practices. It's time to go inward into what we call the antarang yoga or in yoga, really, the way Patanjali and Swamiji Gitananda Giri explains as a samyama. So our sixth step into the sadhana comes in actually a bundle of practices that can be known as samyama. So the samyama includes dharana, dhyan and samadhi. So the three practices or these three limbs, the three aspects of yoga, in many ways we can never really separate them. Because dharana is the practice where you are focusing or you're concentrating your mind, you're trying to meditate your mind on a selected practice, a chosen practice. Now your dharana can be have a candle in front of you and you gazing your mind on that, or maybe you just taken the mantra Om, and in your mind you just continuously chanting the mantra, repeating the mantra Om, 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 Om. Either you chanting it verbally or you just chanting it in your mind over and over again, or focusing your mind on a certain chakra or a certain point, or a certain deity or a certain mantra, or even as simple as the thought, like, or mantra like Soham or Om Namah Shivaya. So focusing our mind on one of the pre-selected or predefined Jnana Yoga or the wisdom practice, that will gradually, hopefully, as you know, as Patanjali says, that the mind has the ability to focus. And when you achieve mastery, when you achieve success in that practice, it becomes your meditation, it becomes your dhyana. When your mind becomes your focus, your concentration becomes unattended or undisturbed, unbroken. And that unbroken concentration, when that enhances, the time expands, then that leads us into samadhi or the absolute union. So that becomes the group of these three parts of yoga: samyama, tarana, dhyana, and samadhi. That becomes our sixth limb. Now in this sixth limb, as I said, the practice in sixth part of our sadhana, it can be very, very wide spectrum practices, as there are many meditation practices in Kundalini yoga, into the mantra yoga, in bhakti yoga, in Vijnana Bhairav Tantra. So the practices there are many practices. In sort of in the Upanishadic classification of Jnana yoga or these meditation practices, there are 128 different dharanas, or the focus, the concentration practices, very well described. So our sixth step into the sadhana becomes choosing a meditation, a focus practice, a concentration practice, and in that we gradually enhancing our awareness or focus to have access to that higher or to the divine or to the cosmic wisdom. Now our seventh limb, the seventh step into the practice, as just to remind us all again, this is not something that we have decided in the morning and we're just going to sit quiet and create the space and go through these steps and we are enlightened. This process is a long process. As we all know, it can take us many lifetimes. Again, in Sankhya, in yoga, in Tantra, it says we have 84 million lifetimes to achieve, to attain this self-realization. At some point in this process, we all will be self-realized. So in many ways, I believe the way the Sankhya explains, the human consciousness, the human life itself, and all other life forms itself, they are gradually evolving or moving upward, onward towards the self-realization or achieving that divine, that cosmic awareness. So in our seventh limb, then we come to Raj Yoga, or all these wisdom concepts and wisdom ideas. So that understanding, as the word that like in here, really the simplest sort of word I can use is satsang. Now the satsang is creating the intention and then following the practices, following the teachings that are leading us to seek, to grow, or to find the truth. Now the satsang can be like what we're doing now. There is a direct interaction between us through this media, or satsang can be reading a book or listening the talks that are already being recorded. So there is many ways that we can explore and enhance and support our sadhana, our evolution. So in the seventh limb, the seventh step of your yoga sadhana becomes studying, learning, and finding more and more knowledge and more is wisdom and the support, the energy to enhance your evolution, to enhance your wisdom, to enhance your practice. So in a really nutshell, then these seven becomes our key sort of sadhana sutras or the practices. If some of us may like to add a couple of more there, we can add. To me, the eighth one, which can also be actually seen as a first one instead of eighth, can be our food, our diet. what do we eat, what sort of food we're feeding ourselves. Does it help you to feel good, feel healthy, or feel nutritional, feel full of energy, or your food you're eating, is it draining you out, or does it make you feel weak, or does it make you feel sick, does it make you feel heavy? So in that way, your eighth sort of part, or that can also be gone back into the first part, and then the numbers will go back upward. So in a modern sort of concept, we can add two more sort of sadhana sort of steps in here, which I guess we could have begun in a very beginning. So in that way, the eighth one or the first one will become our food, our diet. So as Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he really talks about mitahar, the moderate diet. Eat to keep your body healthy, eat to keep your body strong, eat to keep your body full of energy, full of vitality, so you can perform your sadhana, you can perform all your day-to-day activities, your karma, your dharma, or the duties that you need to fulfill, duties you need to perform. And then the ninth or the second one here really will be our lifestyle. Because in many ways, before even we can start sort of talking about our moral and our ethical being, or our creating a space, also creating a healthy lifestyle. Sort of really choosing our life steps in such a beautiful way that it's all inclusive. There is a time to eat, time to drink, time to do exercise, time to have a wash, time to sleep, time to wake up, time to meet with friends, time to have entertainment. So as we talk about the moderate living, the mitahar, this middle path is actually creating the space to fulfill not just your spiritual but also your material, your physical, your social, your family, and your economic needs. So your life becomes effortless. Your life naturally achieves or attains that beautiful state of inner peace, or that effortless sort of role that it can play into this dynamic universe, this dynamic sort of life that we are living. So in that way, our lifestyle and our food, our diet can also be included as the first and second sutras. The first 7 sutras we discussed, those are more from the scriptural practices on our spiritual evolution or our spiritual sadhana. And these practices in that manner, in that steps, they can really help us to achieve the true potential that we all have. I guess for now I will stop, and as always we do, we will chant Shanti mantra tonight. We will chant that 9 times. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we will begin together. Let's just do 9 rounds of Savitri rhythm pranayama to begin. Sitting straight with a comfortable seated posture, straight spine. Take your hands on your knees in Jnana Mudra, or bring your hands on your lap in Dhyana Mudra. Softly and gently close your eyes if you like, and then breathe out to begin. Slowly. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. 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 Now if you like, softly and gently bring your hands to your heart, Namaskar Mantra. Or mantra Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace and love for living, non-living, material and non-material, each and every aspect that exists in the universe. Let everyone, every life, every non-living being to be in peace. Let's chant the mantra with this intention, bringing that cosmic healing. Ourselves all to be connected, all one. Thank you very much everyone again for joining in. And yeah, hopefully we all managing to keep ourselves healthy and strong and positive, keeping our head and chin up to keep going through. As one of our good friends always said, this shall pass. So, whatever the time, the situation, it's all evolving and changing and it will pass. At least we have all got this more opportunity to have this connectedness, this oneness through these sources.